When you think of popular anime, you might think of Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, Your Name, Gintama, you know? I don't know about you, but when I think of popular anime, Guilty Crown is not one that comes to mind. Why have so many people seen Guilty Crown? Guilty Crown doesn't feel special. It isn't really anything special. The only thing that really comes to mind is the opening. That opening is something special. Millions of people have watched this anime, and every time I ask someone how they feel about it, I get a wildly different answer. Me personally, I have beef with Guilty Crown. More specifically, I have beef with Shu. What a bitch. An absolute insufferable human being. I hate this nigga with a passion, and with each passing day, my fury grows. I hate this nigga so much that every time I hear the opening or ending for a brief moment, I just get fucking pissed. So I'm gonna explain why I'm angry from the beginning, and maybe you'll agree and get angry with me. So if you're not one of the millions of people that have watched Guilty Crown, this story takes place in the future, 2039 to be specific, after a virus has changed the general structure of how the world works, giving power to an organization by the name of the GHQ. Now this could just be Japan, but they never really specify, but that's not really important. Just know that they have power. Shu is a high school student who is obsessed with the singer Inori. And after coming into contact with her, he learns that she's a part of a terrorist organization called Funeral Parlor. He's invited to join after he gains the ability to take a sword out of her chest. This is later revealed to be a void power, something that he can take out of anyone, even yours. Shit hits the fan immediately, and he fights against the government because she asked him nicely. He was also kind of coaxed into it, but it's whatever. His main motivation was because he wanted to be closer to Inori, which is some real simp behavior, because personally, you couldn't catch me going to war for a girl I just met. I don't care if she was like a celebrity I had a crush on or whatever, I'm not doing it, but that's just me. After taking part in one of their missions, he decides that he actually doesn't want to be in a terrorist organization because he's clearly not a fighter. He's a loner who hasn't really accomplished much in his whole life. He has no social skills, and suddenly he's thrown into a prominent military position. So honestly, I'd say that he made a good decision here. So after sulking in an apartment for a few days because he can't fuck the girl of his dreams, he decides that, you know what, maybe being in a terrorist organization and fighting the government wouldn't be too bad after all. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, you do you, I guess. But then he switches up again, decides he's not fighting because he can't handle the pressure and expectations. But then he decides that he's fighting again, but then he decides he's not fighting again, and then he is doing his own thing. And this is where I start to get pissed off, because why are you flipping off and on like your decisions have no repercussions on the political climate of this country? Also, when he switches up for the last time, he ends up starting this weird cult at his school with like a caste system like hierarchy. So before I mentioned he has the ability to pull voids out of people, and it's like the weapon of their soul or something like that. So with this ability, he pulls out the voids from all his classmates, and based on the usefulness of their weapon or item, he ranks them and like puts them in a hierarchy, like I said before. And the saddest part about this whole arc, he doesn't even let them know the risks of taking out their void. By taking out their void, it accelerates the growth of the virus that I mentioned earlier, which essentially just turns you into crystals and kills you. Everyone and their mama is avoiding this virus like the plague, and he knows what this will do to them, and he doesn't say anything at all. These people are supporting him unconditionally through all his bullshit. There are some of his friends here, and he can't even be upfront and honest with them. A lot of these people revere him as a god, and he just spits on them. He pretends to care for others and says he has their best interests in mind, but he's just a selfish bastard. People have died because of all of his wishy-washiness and selfishness. He can't stick to his decisions. He's indecisive, always changing things up at the cost of others. Getting best girl killed. Like, what a bitch ass nigga, bro. She did not have to go out like that. And he might not have directly killed her, but it was 100% her fault. And he had more than enough control over the situation to change his course of action so the outcome wouldn't have been that. I'm glad they betrayed that bitch ass nigga. I hate the argument people always use when you hate a character from a show and they say, well, if it makes you feel this strong about it, then that means it has to be good. The story is aight, ain't nothing crazy. Like, the fight scenes are fine. The music is amazing, I will give it that. Egoist is one of my favorite Japanese artists, and I have this show to thank for introducing me to them, but how good the show is has nothing to do with my hatred for the character. Because I don't hate him because I'm supposed to hate him, because it's written like I'm supposed to be supporting him. Like I'm supposed to overlook all his bullshittery and be glad he came on top as a better man. Man, fuck that! He's ruining the lives of others around him after he was warned about the consequences and he just ignored them. Like, this anime doesn't blow me away with a great story, but what makes it so memorable for me after watching it after all these years is my hatred for this nigga Shu. He deserves to walk barefoot through miles of Legos, dipped in a vat of smeltering hot oil, some form of cruel and unusual punishment. At the end of the day though, it is just an anime, and I don't lose much sleep over it. But every time I think about this anime, I'm still filled to this day with momentary rage, real rage, like genuine anger, and I'll continue to bitch about it for as long as I live.